We diluted a lot of our equity. We raised our first angel round within 6 months of starting. There's no time to just try to build this out. You actually need to raise money quickly to be able to compete in this market.
What's up people? आज हमारे साथ the Intelligent Bak पे एक ऐसे guest है who has built the largest villa hospitality business in India.
You don't choose your family. You are born in that family and they'll always be your family.
Started with Vista rooms and then you pivoted to Stay Vista. And today I think all your rooms in the same segment, they're planning to go IPO.
So they're thinking about every little rupee that they could make to increase their margins and their earnings.
Not about the experience of the person.
Correct.
Experiences को आप scalable कैसे बना सकते हो? Stay Vista पे एक property listed है. मैं Google करूँ तो उसका result आ जाता था. And I could directly book with the owner or the caretaker there. So how do you take care of these revenue leakages in the system? While I was researching, I also came across one of the properties of Stay Vista weren't really reviewed well.
Yep.
Do you think real estate or building villas specifically, one can do it from the purpose of generating ROI?
Most of our homes might be getting a yield of anywhere between 2%.
So if I do build a villa, what are the top 3 things I should consider? Just say at least I know that my property is always going to be booked.
Last, detailing is the most important in terms of driving demand. In hindsight, we raise money too early. So I would really urge founders that, just...
What's up people? आज हमारे साथ the Intelligent Bak पे एक ऐसे guest है who has built the largest villa hospitality business in India with a year-on-year growth of 40%. It's none other than Amit Damani, the founder of Stay Vista, that has over 1100 plus properties in their portfolio and are managing real estate of over 4,000 crore rupees. So whether you're an entrepreneur या आप एक real estate investor हो या आप मेरे तरह एक aspiring vacationer हो जिसे सिर्फ holiday homes की तलाश होती है, then this episode is a must watch for you because आज हम cover करने वाले हैं कुछ deep insights about building and scaling a hospitality business in India, investing in the right real estate, especially villas, some things about managing personal and business finances, and some fun games with Amit in the end. To give you a little introduction, Amit ने अपनी graduation complete की है from the Northwestern University in USA in Economics and International Studies, after which he was associated with the Teach for India as a fellow. And इसके बाद उन्होंने Chinese and German ministries के साथ भी काम किया है and also with the World Bank on certain socio-economic development projects. After all of this, he finally returned to India and started Stay Vista in 2015 with his other 2 co-founders and has already clocked a revenue of 150 crores in financial year 24. Now enough from me, let's hear it from the man himself. So Amit, before we start, I actually wanted to say this year, I visited with my family. This was the first proper family trip we took, and it was a 4-day trip to outskirts of Maharashtra. There was Lonavala, Mahabaleshwar, Mathiran, all of these places. And for the first time ever, मैं खुद बैठ के villa search कर रही थी. And I think I also booked one of the Stay Vista villas. We happened to, I think over 4 days we had 2 villas for us, and one of them was Stay Vista. So जब मैं actually property पे गई थी, being a CA, मेरे दिमाग में इतने सारे questions आ रहे थे. I'm like, how is this happening? How is that happening? ये ऐसे कैसे हो रहा है? Or there are certain points of revenue leakage. मतलब यार, I really want to get into the depth of it. And today that I'm hosting you, I think we're going to have a lot of learnings. So before we get started, my first question to you officially would be that when I was reading about you, I realized you were, not really into business from the start. You work with multiple governments. You've even taught for, I think, Teach for India.
Yep.
So how did entrepreneurship come into picture? आपने entrepreneurship choose किया या फिर entrepreneurship chose you?
Great question. I think it's like your family, right? You don't choose your family. You are born in that family and they'll always be your family. And that environment defined whether entrepreneurship chose me or I chose entrepreneurship. क्योंकि घर पे honestly सिर्फ 2 चीज़ के बारे में बात होती है. It's either, and it's all related to equity, right? Okay. It's either investing in companies or building companies. Those are 2 things that are constantly spoken about. Because the family background has been in investing in the stock market, public markets for the last 35 years. Oh. And say, other than my dad, say my grandfather as well, it's constantly been about building new businesses. So they would have gone through so many trials and tribulations, tried starting over 8-10 businesses across India, and finally something would have clicked for them. So I think that's been a journey. So ulta, working in a job is thought about as a more risky thing to do at home versus starting your own business. So that's just been the environment, and because of that, entrepreneurship has always been a path for me. Obviously wanted to build my skill sets and do something on ground. At least for me personally, there were only two routes that I saw that I wanted to take. Either it's starting up or service for the nation. Since a child. So I think, Teach for India was a way in which I wanted to ensure that I do something for society. And most people think of it as something you'll do when you retire, when you made enough money, then you'll do it. I thought about it the contrarian way of flipping it and doing something right after college. So I spent 2 years as a Teach for India fellow teaching in Dharavi for 2 years, completed that fellowship, and I spent a couple of years in strategy consulting. Again, it was focused on socio-economic development issues. So we worked with governments such as I worked with the Chinese government. I worked in India. I worked with a lot of large institutions like World Bank. So a lot of learnings there, but entrepreneurship was always the path I knew I will pursue at some point.
Interesting. So what are those learnings that, helped in entrepreneurship? Like today, many people, like even when I wanted to start a business, I was like, अच्छा बस पढ़ाई खत्म करो और business start कर दो. But I am also very glad that मैंने पहले job किया, काफी चीजें सीखी. So for you, ऐसा कौन सा learning aspect है that, because that you're happy कि आपने पहले job किया, you worked for government entities and then you started business?
Yeah. So if I speak about both my experiences, Teach for India for me was an MBA crash course. Primarily because and also in terms of like just managing people, right? A lot of entrepreneurs or founders will actually spend a lot of time just managing people. That is the biggest responsibility, managing and directing them. And I had to manage those 35 students every day, single-handedly for 7 hours a day, trying to guide them and direct them in building their academic skills. I felt I'm doing the same thing today. Instead of 35 students, it's 350 team members at Stay Vista that I'm working closely with to ensure that they're developing and we're contributing to one common goal. And similarly, I think at my next stint, which was at Dalberg, I think the primary skill that I built over there was my communication skills, my strategic thinking skills, my analytical skills in solving very complex problems. So in Teach for India, I was in a classroom, it was very micro. And then at Dalberg, it was very macro, top level. How do you define a strategy that can impact millions of people? So I think just marrying those two skills, like getting ground pay, executing things, as well as building a strong strategy, I feel both of those things have helped me develop as a founder.
Interesting. So when I was reading, I realized that, you guys, you and your co-founders, you used to have chai, coffee and discuss business ideas together, right? And then Stay Vista came into picture. So my question is that till what stage were you guys bootstrapped? कि अगर आप खुद का भी खर्चा उठा रहे थे 3 लोग बैठ के तो कब तक आपने खुद से expenses manage किए? And what was that moment when you realized कि यार अब तो पैसा उठाना पड़ेगा?
Good question. So we started in 2015, and 2015 was a time when this entire startup ecosystem was booming. So, in the newspapers, I especially remember 2014, 2015 was a time when startups got a lot of attention in the media, similar to how it was getting attention 1-2 years ago or even now, right? So that point, I think there was this sort of inflection point where a lot of people were thinking about starting up, right? And that's how three of us, Ankita, Pranav and I, started spending more time discussing ideas, thinking about what we want to do. And we said, let's take the plunge. We invested a small amount. We invested 10 lakhs each, 30 lakhs to begin with. And I think the idea was, okay, let's try to figure out a product market fit. What is it going to be that will solve a customer problem? And then we'll figure out scaling and raising money for that. But what happened was we started working in the hospitality space. We started working in this entire budget hotel space where we're trying to standardize the experience. There was a player like Oyo in the market, and what we saw happening in no time when we started was a lot of money was coming into this segment, right?
In the hospitality segment?
In this hospitality segment. So we realized there's no time just to wait. There's no time to just try to build this out. You actually need to raise money quickly to be able to compete in this market. So we raised our first angel round within 6 months of starting. So in hindsight, I feel we raised money too early because one, I don't think we had hit product market fit. So we hadn't really figured out our business model and the core consumer that we want to solve our problem for.
This is the time of Vista Rooms.
That's right. At the time of Vista Rooms, which is now Stay Vista in 2015. And the second I would say is we diluted a lot of our equity.
Okay.
I think, just as first time entrepreneurs, you think that fundraising and is just part of the game. You don't really realize that, equity dilution is really important over time. And at that point, we just, thought like, yeah, we'll go for it. So if I had to like look back and redo things, I don't think I would have diluted as much as then.
I think that's the learning that just comes when
Yeah.
you're running a business.
Yeah.
So, what is that advice? What is that one advice you would like to give early stage founders or startups regarding raising funds, like based on your own experience? What should be their decision making factor?
Yeah, the first is just, product market fit. So just being able to identify a core problem that a consumer has, solving it, seeing that traction taking place. And by traction, I would say there is some repeatability taking place in terms of guests or referencing that's taking place such that you're not spending a lot of money to acquire a customer.
Okay.
I think that's really important. And then the second is once you've hit that product market fit, then you raise money in terms of scaling.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, like you just mentioned, you guys had started. I mentioned actually, you guys had started with Vista rooms,
Yeah.
correct? And then you pivoted to Stay Vista.
Yeah.
And today, I think Oyo rooms in the same segment, they're planning to go IPO. So, what were the red flags that you guys identified in the hotel segment that you had to take and pivot? And how different is it from the villa business? If you
Yeah.
can just
Great.
get into it.
Great question. So the hotels landscape, right? One, it's done really well over the last 9 to 10 years. So not only hotels, but the entire hospitality landscape, Indians are traveling like never before.
True.
So whether it's hotels, whether it's homestays, whether it's villas, whether it's hostels, all these segments are in a scenario where it's all growing at this point. But if I speak specifically on the hotel landscape, I think I'll speak about three different stakeholders. One is just the competition, second is the owner of a property, and the third is the guest. What we saw was the challenges at that point and why we chose working in homes. With respect to competition, as I was telling you, there were multiple players in the market who had deep pockets and who were spending a lot of money to
Okay.
acquire properties, right? And I don't think that's the game we wanted to get into, because what we saw was no one was closely solving the problem of the customer in terms of experience. So it was just about a supply capture game, and we just felt like it's no point of just like burning money to do that. So what do? We said let's forget about this segment with the competition taking place. The second was thinking about the property owner, right? And that property owner, hotel owner, is running these assets commercially. So they're thinking about every little rupee that they could make to increase their margins and their
not
earnings.
about the experience of the person staying
Correct.
there.
Correct. That is the most critical thing for them. Versus when we looked at the entire home space, the profile of the homeowner was completely different. They were HNIs, ultra HNIs who have made it in life, whether it's running their own businesses, whether being CXOs of large companies. And their goal with these homes was that this is a home that's been a labor of love. It's an aspiration they've always had to have a home where they can go and relax and retire. So they wanted to ensure that place is maintained and taken care of. They weren't looking to juice the most out of this asset. They were looking to just ensure that it's in, sort of trustworthy hands who will take care of my home.
Okay.
Right? So they weren't thinking about every corner where can I save money or where can I get a higher margin. Ulta, their reputation is more important. So they were looking to ensure that any guest who comes and stays there has a great experience as well and talks about their experience to others. So that was the difference on the homeowner side. And then on the guest side, when it comes to sort of a standard hotel experience, what are you looking at? You're looking at a basic bedroom, you're looking at the shower working properly, you're looking for a basic breakfast that you could potentially get.
Instagram worthy hotels also.
Yeah,
for today.
yeah. But that segment, I think
Yeah.
that segment that we were working in at that point, we felt that was the base that people were looking for. And unfortunately or fortunately, three of us always wanted to create an experiential brand. And when it comes to homes, I think it's a completely different story, right? When you're going as a family, when you're going as a friend, just spending such quality time together, there's so many things you can do in that property, whether it's, just playing in the garden, being in the pool, just hanging out in that common area and catching up after so long. And then on top of that, in terms of food that can be created or delivered to you, people are going there to celebrate multiple milestones. So I think all of that really appealed to us, and just growing up in like big families, like those group experiences is something that we were really attracted to. So that's, and then we saw high repeat, right? So that product market fit, we started seeing that. Year where we didn't have to spend a lot of money to get a customer back or getting referrals from them versus in the hotel space. So those three were big reasons for us to start shifting our focus to this segment.
Got it. You know, you mentioned about experiences and scalability. I was reading about Paul Graham, and he mentions this thing that founders should do things that are not scalable.
Correct.
And once you do such things, you build quality, you establish the product market fit, and that is when your customers will automatically lead to, you know, scalability of the business. Yeah. And when I was reading about Stay Vista, you have mentioned about experiences so much. मेरे दिमाग में सिर्फ एक ही question था कि experiences को आप scalable कैसे बना सकते हो?
Correct.
Especially, you know, when it is so it is so human, so much human involvement is there.
Yeah.
Like, how do you ensure that there is uniformity in experience all over India, that too at different price points? I would really love some insights.
Yeah, I feel that'll be a constant battle that we have to fight and figure how do we keep, you know, doing two things. One is standardizing experiences, but also personalizing experiences.
Correct.
So what does that mean? Like certain things will have to be standardized, but certain things have to feel like it's authentic. It has to feel like it's something you connect with rather than a standard thing. Not easy at all. But I think, you know, just thinking about the consumer, what are the basics that they're looking for at these homes as well? They want to ensure, and I've seen this happen at most second homes. That I have a second home in Lonavala, and it was always thought as the second-hand home. So घर पे जो भी पुराना हो जाता था, वहाँ पे जाता था, right? So Bombay से अगर आपका furniture पुराना हो गया, you want to change a painting, bed sheets आपको नए लाने, towels नए लाने, everything would go there, correct? But as a guest, that's not what you're looking for. You're not looking to experience that when you go and stay there. So that was the first thing we had to change in all of these homes. We had to make a homeowner understand that now you're actually a hospitality brand that you're associated with, and guests are going to come here expecting a certain experience. So let's get the basics right. So whether it was the bed sheets, whether it was the cleaning of the house, how it's done, whether it's training the staff on, you know, how they need to do certain things, that was the basic that needs to get standardized. Right? So that was the first thing. The second thing was, in terms of personalization, we need to differentiate between what does a housekeeping staff do or what does a experience concierge team do.
Okay.
Right? So the staff on the property generally will be your housekeeping staff who need to take care of the basics at the property. So there we have to keep focusing on standards. And then our concierge team has to keep focusing on, okay, what is the guest going there for? What is it that they would like to do over there? Are they looking to step out? Are they looking for something in the house? So both of these teams have to work very well to ensure that there's standardization and then there's personalization.
Correct.
I don't think it's something that can't be done, but just the challenge is different because it's not one hotel with, you know, 300 rooms and 300 team members over there versus that being across, say, 100 properties in a location. So it's a different challenge, but as long as you're focusing on figuring out what needs to be standardized and what needs to be personalized, you'll solve it.
So is it like a mix of SOPs and training procedures,
absolutely.
Or what?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first is, you know, you have to incentivize the team in the right way. And then obviously your standards and culture is very important. From a SOP or standards and culture point of view, that every property has to go through training. And by property, I mean the staff who's on site goes through multiple days of training before we launch the property. There's ongoing training that takes place for them on a regular basis. So that is just a continuous cycle that will keep taking place, right? And then the second I would say is that if you think of the property staff and what is a big incentive in the home space is that all of them get significant tips when guests check out, right? So that
given by the guest.
Given by the guest. So those tips can be anything between 20 to 40% of their salaries monthly. So that's a big reason why they actually enjoy having guests coming there and staying there. Because from a financial point of view, it's a big upside that they get by, you know, like suddenly having guests coming and staying at these homes.
True. I think now that you mention of it, we realize like I was always, you know, usually when I go to restaurants, I'm not a fan of giving tips because I never understood the concept.
Yeah.
But this year when I had stayed in the villa and me and my family were so happy, and especially, you know, दोस्तों के साथ एक अलग होता है कि आप कुछ भी adjust कर लोगे, you know, थोड़ा सा comfort नहीं है या whatever is there, you're okay with it.
Yeah.
But when you go out with your family, safety is so much important. Quality of life is so much important. The kind of way the staff is behaving is so important. And I also had 2 kids at that time, and my parents also, you know, they are aged. So जब हम रहे 2 दिन और जब हम निकल रहे थे, we were all so happy that my nephews, they themselves, they had these packet of chips, chocolate, you know, all the junk food that was left over. They're barely 4 and 10 years old. And they're like, Masi, aap unko de do. So those kids also, the experience mattered so much.
Absolutely.
And I think then that is
and
actually...
And hotels mein nahi hota, right? You don't end up doing all of this for the staff at a hotel. But at a home, it always happens.
True. Now that you've mentioned so much, going into so much detail of experiences, you have also said once that, you know, from the revenues, almost 70% goes to the villa owner, homeowner, and 30% is kept by Stay Vista.
Correct.
और उस 30% में फिर I'm guessing, you know, you go after the maintenance expense, office rent, salaries, and every other expense that is being incurred.
Correct.
So can you break down the unit economics, because I can't understand that how are you able to build a profitable business out of it with so much of detailing?
Yeah, great question. So I'll break it down from an overall 100% ka chart to what is the unit economics for a homeowner and for us.
Also, if you could give the different revenue sources, because I'm guessing there must be different models, right?
Yeah. So I think, say if there's 100%, or let's take it as a homeowner makes about 3 lakhs per month, right? In terms of sales. So out of that 3 lakhs, and homeowner takes 70%, that's about 2.1 lakhs. And Stay Vista takes about 90,000. Out of that 2.1 lakhs, the homeowner is responsible for the operational cost of the property or any wear and tear that takes place. That operational cost typically is your staff on site, electricity, laundry, etc. Cumulatively, that comes to about 60 to 80,000 rupees per month. So out of that 2.1, they would be left with roughly about 1.3 to 1.5 lakhs. Right? And then for us, out of our 70,000, we're responsible for the marketing of the property, we're responsible for a concierge team, we're responsible for a technology, we're responsible for a marketing costs, our ground operations team, then there is the HR, finance, etc. All of those teams, right? So out of that 30, so a homeowner, as I shared, like roughly gets left with about 40 to 50% net out of that 100. Us, out of that 30, our costs would be anywhere between 15 to 20% in terms of managing any booking or any guest, and the balance is what helps us cover our overheads in terms of our central teams.
So the 15-20% जो आपने बोला goes towards managing the particular booking.
Correct.
So that is out of the 3 lakhs amount that you mentioned. That's out of 100.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
got
right.
it.
Exactly.
So, you know, as a CA, the most interesting topic for me is revenue leakage. And like I was telling you that when I had gone for this trip with my family, तो जब मैं villa book कर रही थी, I realized there are so many different areas जहाँ पे possible revenue leakages हो सकते हैं. And it just caught my attention that how are you guys solving this issue? So I'll just list down the areas which I identified, and if you could just, you know, deep dive into it. So number one was that, you know, one property I realized that it's available on multiple platforms and at different price points as well. So I could just go for the cheapest booking. Then second, which also I found out, but I did not, you know, particularly choose it, is because एक प्रॉपर्टी जैसे स्टे विस्टा पे एक प्रॉपर्टी लिस्टेड है, मैं गूगल करूँ तो उसका रिजल्ट आ जाता था, एंड आई कुड डायरेक्टली बुक विद द ओनर और द केयर टेकर देयर, बट अगेन आई डिड नॉट डू दैट बिकॉज ऑफ सेफ्टी इश्यूज. एंड थर्ड इज दैट, यू नो, जब आप रहने जाओ तो ये मेरे दोस्त करते थे, मैं भी करती थी कॉलेज डेज में, कि आप केयर टेकर का नंबर ले लो एंड देन नेक्स्ट टाइम इफ यू वांट टू बुक यू जस्ट डायरेक्टली बुक विद देम, या आप अपने दोस्तों को दे दो, बिकॉज लोनावला इज लाइक अ वेरी कॉमन प्लेस इफ यू आर गोइंग फ्रॉम मुंबई. So how do you take care of these revenue leakages in the system?
Yeah, great question. I think first what we've done is that all the properties that we work with them exclusively. What does that mean is that we market it on Stay Vista, but we also market it on Airbnb, we market it on Booking.com, we market it on Make My Trip. So all the listings that you're seeing on other platforms are actually listed by us.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. So then there's an entire revenue management team that we have in-house who's constantly looking at the listings on these platforms, looking at the pricing, and they might play with that from time to time. So they might look at certain pricing which is slightly different on one platform versus another basis demand and that they're seeing in a region and where they think they can pick up a booking from.
Oh, interesting.
So that's one. The second is with respect to just in terms of, say, guests. I think what we always see is that a guest could potentially book directly with a caretaker, right? They might have got some number from a owner, etc. But what you rightly said, like people are worried about safety with respect to their planning as well, right? Like a lot of trips get cancelled, and who will help you in ensuring that you get your refund or you're able to stay in the future for that, versus doing it directly with someone or doing it through a brand and a platform. So those things also people are always concerned about. That, hey, one, like, will my money be protected, and second is, am I booking it with the right person? Because anyone can pretend to be a homeowner, right?
Yeah.
We've seen multiple scams take place in the last couple of years where people have been listing our property under some new company and saying you can book it at, say, 5,000 rupees when a villa costs 20,000 or 30,000 rupees, right? And people have been falling for it because people say that you just need to pay me advance and you pay the balance on at the property. So I think from a consumer protection point of view, it would make more sense if they do it and transact via a brand or a platform rather than doing it through whatever number they find anywhere on Instagram. So that those are sort of gaps that we've seen. And lastly, I think technology is something that we keep using, right? So all our bookings, all our properties are on an app where a homeowner, us, can track all bookings, inventory. So any dates that get blocked, beyond what we see as a normal thing with respect to usage by a homeowner, we know those are bookings, and there's always a sharing that takes place on that. So there is no way to maneuver in a manner that bookings are taken on their own, because everything is in a calendar.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, one thing about your business, I realized that as much as customer experience is important, even the partnerships with these villa owners are important. And for any business, I think their success lies in effective partnerships. So how do customer side to I heard, but how do you ensure that you are having successful partnerships with these villa owners as well, that they are also happy in the end?
Yeah. So the way we see it is, this is a wealth management business, right? We manage these assets, so these homes are wealth created by these homeowners, and they want to ensure that that wealth is maintained and in some way, giving them a certain return. So just like a wealth manager has to ensure that they're managing that person's wealth and creating some returns, we have to think of it in the same manner. And I think a couple of things that are very important here. One is just building that relationship with those individuals and being very transparent and upfront of what's possible and what is not possible. Two, we took a very sort of strategic call that the kind of properties we work with will be of a premium or luxury category to begin with. Why? Because that will automatically sort of lead to a certain audience that comes and stays at these properties. Why is that important? Because every homeowner wants to ensure that property is protected and taken care of. They don't want to just sweat that asset and have it being used for parties and people coming there and trashing it in any way. So all of that's helped us build that outcome for an homeowner, which is better returns. So most of our homes might be getting a yield of anywhere between 5 to 8%. We have certain homeowners who give us a home every year. They've cracked the code of how they can get over 10% return year on year. So every year they'll build a new home. They know which asset to pick up at what price and turn it around to make it look ideal for a guest to come and stay there. So that's what we're seeing as the evolution of this industry now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in the initial days, you guys would go personally and talk to villa owners and then get the villas onboarded. Does that happen even now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all three of us, most of our time still goes in, meeting these homeowners, understanding their stories, their journeys, and then getting them on board. So that's always going to be something that we will be close to, and we love doing that.
So what is that one insight that आप लोग को इन villa owners से बात करके मिला, which you would not have realized in glass door cabins?
Yeah, so very simple thing, right? In hotels and in businesses, you always think about division of labor and specialization of labor. So you'll think this person will only do this task. This person will only do this task. So someone will do housekeeping, someone else will cook, someone else will do service for a guest, someone else will do gardening, someone else will do the pool cleaning, etc. But that doesn't work in a home. Just like it doesn't work in a small startup that you start. You have to do everything, correct? And I think that was our biggest learning, even interacting with these homeowners. They might have a 4 or 5 bedroom house and they'll have only 2-3 staff very efficiently managing the entire place and doing everything for the place. whether it's gardening, whether it's pool cleaning, whether it's cooking, whether it's cleaning the house, whether it's ensuring on the maintenance of the house, everything they'll take care of.
I think it's like a mother's role.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that was such a big learning for us when it comes to operating this business. Otherwise, your costs are just going to rise drastically, because your primary cost in hospitality is your people. They're your asset, but also from an expense point of view, you need to ensure that you manage that well.
Correct.
That was our biggest learning from each of these homeowners.
So Amit, online reputation management, ORM, is a very important concept in any hospitality business. Like especially for hotel bookings or villa bookings, whenever we are going about a booking, we always see what the reviews about the property already are. And काफ़ी बार ऐसा भी होता है कि एक विला बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत सस्ते में, but हम नहीं book कर रहे because no reviews are available, you know. And like there are positives, there are negatives also. People happen to hate certain properties, or the experience is pretty bad. And while I was researching, I also came across one of the properties of Stay Vista that weren't really reviewed well. So this is about it. So I wanted to understand from you that आप लोग as a team, what do you guys do about these negative reviews? Like, are there different levels जिस पे आप different actions लेते हो? And is there something or some reason जहाँ पे आप property delist भी कर देते हो that we will not be working with you? So how do you go about that?
Yeah, so I think reputation and reviews specifically is sort of the core of hospitality, and the entire business is built on great guest experience, which translates into reviews, right? And we take it really seriously. We give it a lot of importance, and every team member is incentivized to get a review, not a good review or a bad review, but get a review. It can be either way.
Okay.
Because we want to ensure that every guest gives us a review so that we can keep working on it, right? We collect over 70% of reviews. So 70% of our guests give us a review, which is great. Like, I think in the industry, you won't typically get beyond 30-40%. So we really prioritize it. And that's really helped us to dig deeper into what we need to solve on ground in terms of guest experience. What we saw was that, today we have over 19,000 reviews now that we've collected on Google. And this is all because we just give it that much importance. The average rating on Google today is over 4.7. So in that sense, I think there will be negative reviews, but we've always seen the percentage of positive reviews outweighs that. And so I think there, sometimes it might feel like on certain platforms or like a certain property has negative reviews, but when we look at the entire picture, then we take a call on what needs to be done. Okay. So overall, we've had 4.7 rating and like the number of reviews we gathered. I think no one else in the hospitality industry would have done that. In terms of negative reviews, it would be about 5% of our stays, and it's something that we keep trying to work on to get it below 3%. And I think we'd be sort of working further and further to make that happen. Now, what do we do if a certain property has constant negative reviews taking place? Multiple things. We have a rule called strike. So if a property has 3 negative reviews in 2 months, then that property has to be paused. Those things have to be fixed before we can start giving it out to guests.
Okay.
So that's one. But if it's repeated even after that, there are calls where we stop working with those properties as well because they're not adhering to our standards. So we don't shy away from doing that, and that is a constant cycle that takes place if a property is not able to deliver either because of maintenance issues or service issues at the property.
Got it. Interesting. You just mentioned, a while ago that some property owners have really found out the trick and they are able to generate almost 10% yield on real estate. And there is this huge debate online on buy versus rent. Yeah. If you follow certain finance influencers, you would know. And also the audience reaction on it is very massive. Yeah. So, and also, recently there was this influencer, I think Parul Gulati. She is also an entrepreneur, and she had also mentioned on one of the podcasts that she has bought a home in Goa and she's got it from the purpose of investment.
Correct.
But unfortunately, she was also trolled for it. So my question to you is that, do you think real estate or building villas specifically, one can do it from the purpose of generating ROI? And whether yes or no, today if I am building a villa, and most probably I'll be doing it just for, my personal stay and not for renting it out. But if I do happen to rent it out, or if I do happen to give it to Stay Vista, what is the ROI that a villa owner can expect from a real estate, specifically for villas?
Yeah. The real estate returns can vary from 5 to 8% on average.
Okay.
In terms of yield, right? Which is double of what you will typically get in residential real estate. So residential real estate, you might get 2 to 3%. But if you invest in villas, you might get 5 to 8% in terms of returns. But what's very important for that is at what value do you purchase that asset?
Correct.
Right? And there, I think just to give a approximate number that we see works really well is if someone is investing between 2 to 3 CR to either buy a land and build on it or buy an existing property, that is where you'll be able to get a return of 6 to 8%. We know certain homeowners, as I told you, who've been able to do this in 1 to 2 CR who have a incredible return that they're making. So I think what price do you buy these assets at is very important.
Got it. So you're also including the capital appreciation in this?
No capital appreciation.
That is different.
Correct. So if I include capital appreciation, the returns will be at least 15%.
So I can then probably think of building a holiday home and giving it to Stay Vista.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have more homeowners, not only buy one, but like multiple villas over time.
Actually, on that note, even in this year's government budget, the government has allocated almost 2,500 crores towards domestic travel and tourism. And that's almost a 47% increase from the last year. So, like it is clear, tourism and travel is growing a lot in India. But then there is this philosophy or there is this thing of demand versus supply. Today there is a lot of demand for travel and tourism. But what we often see, या फिर जो Ola Uber के case में भी हुआ था, you know, that when the guys had first launched, there's a lot of demand, supply was less, and many people started, you know, coming up as drivers to earn that side income or to, you know, support their family. But eventually supply इतना ज़्यादा हो गया कि drivers की income ही कम हो गई.
Correct.
So I want to understand from you, like today, if I want to, you know, if I want to, you know, build a villa, what are the hot places that I should think of, जहाँ पे supply अभी भी नहीं establish हुई है अच्छी, but demand is pretty hot. So which areas do you think we should consider for building villas from the purpose of generating ROI?
Yeah. So we categorize our markets into two different themes. One is holiday market and the other is getaway market. Now you could build in each one of these markets basis what is your interest. So getaway market is where you can drive to a location within 2 to 5 hours from the city you live in. So from Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, 2 to 5 hour drives, where would people go? So from Bombay, it'll typically be Lonavala, Alibag, Karjat, Nasik, Mahabaleshwar. From Bangalore, people will go to Coorg, people will go to Chikmagalur, people will go to Ooty. So those are locations that people go for getaways. And then from Delhi, they'll go to Kasauli, they'll go to Mussoorie. So those become your getaway markets that people will be ready to go and get away to it every weekend.
Okay, and a holiday market is something which is far away. Like for me, in Bombay, it could be a destination like Manali.
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely. Even for Delhi people, Manali is still a 14-hour drive. So Manali, Dharamshala, Goa is the biggest holiday market of India. Then in Kerala, Alleppey, Munnar, those are all holiday markets. And what we see in holiday markets is that during holiday season, it's jam-packed. And during non-holiday markets, things slow down a little bit.
Okay.
So I think in both markets, you can do well, right? But it's important that one, what is your interest in terms of your utilization of the property? Because most people will buy a home because they'll want to use it at least for like 5 to 6 weekends in a year. They'll go there. So once in 2 months, they'll make a trip out of it. The second is the investment cost. I think, as I was sharing with you, if someone is able to get an asset in 2 to 3 CR, that in any of these locations will get you the ROI you're looking for.
Okay. Including the capital appreciation, I think...
yes. With capital appreciation, it's 15% plus that you would make.
Interesting.
Yeah, but all of these markets. So now you just got to figure out, are you able to get a decent property in 2 to 3 CR, which is well designed in these locations. So in some markets today, it's tougher. For example, in Alibag, the prices have gone up so much, you'll find it tough to buy there. But you could still get something in Karjat. So there are markets all across India that you could get an asset.
So if I want to think of building a villa, I think the easiest way, according to you, would be like, you know, find a villa that you can build in 2 to 3 crores, including the land and the building cost.
Precisely.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So if I do,
and you don't need a lot of land. You don't need a lot of land.
Okay. What's the typical area that I should look for?
So, you know, in terms of land, you don't need more than 12 to 15,000 square feet of land. That you need to build a structure of about 4,000 odd square feet.
Got it. Interesting. So if I do build a villa, what are the top 3 things I should consider? Just say, at least I know that my property is always going to be booked.
Most important is design. I think generally what we've seen is some homeowners spend so much in building the structure, but when it comes to the interiors of the property, it's always at a later stage. So you're thinking about, oh, I've already gone a little out of budget, or I don't want to spend more. But that last detailing is the most important in terms of driving demand. So even that small detail of like bistar pe, if you put a nice bed cover and cushions instead of just a plain white bed sheet, or some colorful bed sheets, all of that doesn't work. You need to put that last detailing of like how's that bed set up, what do you put on the side tables, what's the painting behind your bed. And I think those are the details a lot of people forget when it comes to, because they thought about building it from a home perspective, but when it comes from hospitality, you need to pay attention to those details. So I think that detailing on design is really, really critical. The second I would say is with respect to accessibility.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is if it's a home, even if it's in Lonavala or Karjat, but if the last stretch of getting to that house is extremely difficult, where it's broken roads and it's not in concrete, it sounds exciting. Maybe there will be certain adventurous people who want to go there, but if you want to get a consistent ROI on it, you want to ensure that accessibility to the house is there. It shouldn't feel like arduous to get there. You shouldn't feel tired कि जब आप पहुँचे आप बोल रहे हो कि like यार किधर आ गए हम.
Oh, I remember this one villa we had booked and it was for Lonavala. And ऐसे तो it was looking like कि हाँ almost highway पे ही है. Map पे भी it is not exactly,
Right.
it doesn't show. And because we were a family, we had booked a mini bus sort of a thing, a traveler. And then reaching the villa was very beautiful.
Yeah.
And the reviews were also so far good, but people might have gone in their cars, I'm guessing.
Right.
But when you took that traveler, it was so difficult to reach there.
Correct.
And I was like, ये सबसे पहले review में होना चाहिए था that you can only go by small cars.
Yeah.
So these are 2 things you mentioned. Number 1 was the
Design.
interiors. Number 2 is the location.
And third is obviously your budget. Like you just need to ensure that you do it in the right budget when you're building this house.
Okay, got it. Yeah. On the other side, if I have to book a villa today for stay, what are the top 3 most underrated things which people tend to ignore, but they should, look more about it, or they realize only after booking the property?
Yeah, great question. And I wish most of our guests read what's written. Generally, what happens is that photos is what attracts someone to come and stay at the property, right? So they'll see the photos and take a decision before reading and understanding all details of a place. For example, location, as we were speaking about. With respect to location, a lot of these homes are in such iconic spots or beautiful spots that is what attracts someone, like which is right on the lake or on top of a hill where you can see the entire valley from there. But some people don't realize that getting there could be a challenge. So understanding the last detailing of like the last 2 kilometers might be a rough road, or some places are, you have to climb 20-30 steps to get there. So if you have senior citizens, it might be difficult for them to do so. So I think that detailing is very important that I wish every guest would just pay attention to and read.
And you mention all these on your
website.
website.
Yeah, we do. So there's like a section called Home Truths, just to ensure that people realize these bits, which again, in a hotel, you don't have to really do it, but in a home, every home is different.
True.
So it's important that people understand where they're going. So that location piece is really critical, that people should understand. The second, I think, which is very important to understand is that for some reason, there's a mindset that if I book a home, the entire home is mine. And that means as many people that I want to bring can come to that home. Right? Versus at the end of the day, there are 4 rooms. 8 people can come, and maybe with extra beds, 12 people can come there.
Yeah.
So that is something we've seen for some reason guests do not realize from time to time. They just think कि अरे 14-15 जन आ जाएंगे, adjust कर लेंगे. But as a home, it's not able to take care of so many people. And guests might be able to adjust, but the staff might not be able to handle that.
Correct.
So that I think is very important. And I think third, from a guest perspective, is I spoke about those 2 things, and I think these 2 are the most important things that I see that people generally miss out on.
Have you ever heard?
Third actually is even pets. Like guests, like people take their pets along with them.
Yeah.
And which is great. Like I think they don't get access to go to a lot of hotels because of pets are not allowed. So a lot of people prefer going with to a home and taking the pet along. But some homes do not allow pets, right? So somewhere again they miss that out and they bring a pet along. And unfortunately, that can spoil their experience because say that property is not well equipped to handle a pet versus others are. So just be careful on those details.
Do you remember or have you experienced any such like, really weird story or a weird experience with guests that, कि झगड़ा ही हो गया?
So hospitality में तो कुछ ना कुछ चलता ही रहता है.
Correct.
So I think you have to keep handling it patiently.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we've had cases where the booking was for 10 people and 30 people have showed up. So I think those scenarios happen. You got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You got to make them understand what's possible, not possible, and help them through that situation.
Got it.
Yeah.
Coming to mistakes, I was watching one of your interviews and I was really intrigued that I'll just speak out the line for you, that you took time to understand that finance management is very crucial and thought that raising funds back to back would be easier, and in the process you even burnt a lot of money, but you consider it to be a significant learning experience. So I really want to understand that what were these mistakes, and if you can really share some insights about managing business finances, because one thing that I have seen from my experience staying around with founders is that they often know about the business and the product, but business finance management they lack a lot.
Yeah.
So if you could share something.
Yeah, we learned it the hard way. So I think, as I told you, in the first 6 months we raised a round of funding, and at that point the thought was, if you burn money, you earn money. So there was this intense amount of money that we were burning just thinking about acquiring customers and building a brand. And what we realized was, unless you have this product market fit and there is unit economics that makes sense, you're just losing money. And it's not going to be that someone else will give you more money to grow your business and that money will keep flowing. So that was the hardest learning. We almost ran out of money in the first year itself. We were fortunate to raise some money in our second year, about 1.5 years into building our business.
This was post-COVID?
No, this is 2016.
Okay.
So 2015 we started Stay Vista. In the first year we were trying to build this hotel piece. In 2016 we raised a little more money so that we could actually survive and crack what we want to do. But if we wouldn't have raised that round, we would have shut down at that point. Similar scenario would have happened because of COVID, of how it impacted travel and shut everything down. But so our learning from that 2016 phase was that unit economics needs to make sense. You need to crack your product market fit. Only then you should be spending more. So from 2016 to 2020, honestly, we were more or less sustainable. We were running it profitably. We weren't burning money. We were just sustainably running things until we cracked this entire holiday home space.
Got it.
So I would really urge founders that, just don't rush into thinking that you've raised money, you'll spend it, someone else will give you money. Like, really be clear on how you'll use this and how your product market fit will take place to scale this business further.
But I've heard even VCs sit on the heads of founders regarding their money. Isn't that true? That you have to be like extra cautious, and I've even heard some founders complain कि यार अगली बार business करूँगा तो खुद के पैसे का ही करूँगा. I'll never raise funds from a VC.
I think it depends on who the VC is, but we've seen some great VCs. I mean, the VC that we work with, we've really enjoyed this partnership because I think obviously there'll be phases where you have to focus on growth, at phases where you have to focus on bottom line. That'll keep happening in every business. Yeah. That's not going to go away. But you just want to ensure that you have a partner who you're aligned with in the way you want to grow your business. Some VC might say you want to grow this business 200x, 300x year on year. Some VC might say grow this business 50% year on year. You got to realize what do you want to do, and if that VC aligns with that, that's great. Then you'll enjoy that entire journey.
Correct. Coming to growth, I read, I heard from your team member that you guys are planning to go IPO or get it listed by 2028. And from my experience, even personal experience, I've seen that these days people are not really trusting new age startups because they've burnt money when IPOs have come up. So how are you as a company ensuring that when you reach that stage, we as investors, retail investors, would be willing to put our money? Yeah. Is there certain steps that you are taking into careful consideration over for these years?
Yeah, first is profitability.
Yeah, I heard that you turned profitable this year. Congratulations
for that. Thank you so much. I think that's been a journey that we've been on, and especially because, as I said, from 2016 to 2020, we were running it sustainably, but it wasn't like we were generating large profits. It was just to ensure we figure product market fit. But now we're in that journey of ensuring that we run this as a highly profitable business. And that's something we've been able to do over the last 5 months, and we'll continue building on that. I think that's really important as a business. And then as a responsibility of the business, other than profits for investors, it's delivering a great experience to customers. So if we're able to do both of those for investors and a consumer, I think we'll be sort of on very strong footing to do an IPO.
Got it. In terms of hospitality, like, do you see any trends from the West that may come to India soon, or India actually needs it at the moment?
I look at it the other way. I think there's so many things from India that will now go abroad in terms of...
Please describe that to me.
In terms of just not only hospitality, but all industries, right? What's happening with quick commerce in India, you will see a lot of that now getting replicated abroad. And even if you look at hospitality, with respect to our segment, with respect to budget hotel segment, so much is being taken abroad, which didn't exist earlier. Say, if I speak about what we do in terms of villa hospitality, there weren't brands like us existing globally. There were management companies which managed your villa, right? And वो बोले कि हम संभाल लेंगे आपकी property और marketing कर लेंगे, but there was no brand saying I will do X, Y, Z for you. So as a management company, I just ensured that आपकी property की देखभाल कर लेंगे and basis whatever you have in that property.
Yeah.
But now what we've done with respect to building a hospitality brand for villas, which didn't exist in India, even globally, people have been very focused on either it's hotels or service apartments, but there was nothing for villas. So this segment I see globally is going to expand further as well.
Do you have plans of going global?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we want to be where Indians travel, right? We want to be the home away from home for Indian travelers, because Indians love to travel in groups. So अगर आप group में जा रहे हो, you'll now constantly keep thinking about let's go stay in a villa together. Hotels में तो we'll just go into our own rooms. You won't have your own privacy. You won't have your living room where you can just sit back and relax together, sit till like 2, 3 o'clock. No one's kicking you out of the restaurant. Those scenarios don't come up where then you have to sit in a room and like all of you are like crowded in one place. So I think there's so many advantages when you go as a group to stay at a home, and that experience whenever people are a group, which is, to us is any group which is 4 to 30 people, they'll start thinking about staying at a villa in particular. So that's a piece that we'll keep building on, not only domestically but internationally as well over time.
Got it. One last question for this round. What is your advice to someone who wants to win big in the service and hospitality business in India? Any one principle that they should abide by?
I think...
even if it's, like today I would just want to go and build a separate individual villa and just rent it out on my own. So what is that one little detail that or principle we should abide by?
It's the details. It's not just about launching a villa. It's not just about, doing any kind of service, but what is it that you will do which will catch the attention of your consumer. So whether it's ensuring that when someone goes to sleep, there's a chocolate by the bedside, or whether it's ensuring that there are senior citizens coming, so there is tea, coffee served to them as soon as they wake up. They don't even have to ask for it. Like whatever that little detail that catches someone's attention, you'll have to keep trying to figure that piece out.
I think again, I'll just remember Paul Graham's word on that, do things that are not scalable.
Yeah, I think that's the other piece I would say for every founder. Like we keep thinking about like scalability kya hogi, like wo chodo aap pehle just solve a consumer problem, do those small things well, you will figure a way to scale that over time.
Interesting. So that brings us to the end of this round. Moving on to the next. Moving on to the next round, finance confessions, Amit. We would really like to understand how are you at managing your finances. But before we start that, I want you to describe yourself in one line. I am Amit Damani and I am.
I am Amit Damani and I am a father and a founder.
Okay. One quality that separates you from the rest.
Patience.
Patience, incredible. What's your formula to create wealth?
Equity.
Equity.
Yeah. So it's, as I said, like in the family, it's always been either investing in equities or building your company, which is owning equity of your company. So either way.
So it's a mix of private and public both.
Correct.
Okay. And what is your financial portfolio allocation? Let me guess, 100% equity.
It's balanced honestly between equity and FD. Real estate hasn't been primary investment. It's been more of just personal use of whether it's a family home in Bombay or in Lonavala. So it's primarily been just equities or FD. That's
And
about
what's
it.
the percentage of allocation?
So it's about 40% in equity, 60% in FD, other than the real estate investment that's taking place, which is not investment, as I said, it's more personal use.
But
of
it is
our
given out
homes.
to Stay Vista.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. What's the best personal finance advice that you've ever received?
The biggest or the most helpful advice I've received is that, there are so many asset classes, just focus on what you understand.
Okay.
Do that. And second is, in terms of investing, identify what you have a strong understanding of. For example, I think one of my biggest mistakes would be that I've been in the hospitality industry for the last 9-10 years, but never really invested in this space, right? Even in the public markets. And we've seen how things have played out in the last 4-5 years for the entire hospitality industry, all the public listed companies. So that I feel was a big mistake I've made of not paying attention to something I understand well.
But I think now that you're such an expert in equity, equities will always generate more returns for you, right? Compared to real estate. So do you still consider it a mistake?
No, so I think, what I see as a mistake is that there are a lot of publicly listed companies that are there that, I could have evaluated and invested in.
Got it.
But never did that. Didn't give that time. So it was still very focused on equities, but I didn't do that. Yeah.
And one financial habit that you've built which you think other entrepreneurs should also follow?
At a personal level?
Yeah, personal, professional, anything. One piece of advice you'd like people to know about?
So personally, I think it's just important that you always have a runway of 24 months as a business. So
24
that's how,
months as a business.
Yeah, so we always think about having enough money to last us for at least 2 years.
Okay.
I would multiply that by 10 for personal level. So you need to have enough money to last you for the next 20 years.
Interesting. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of this round. Moving on to the next. So Amit, this is my favorite round, truth or shots. I'll just give you a heads up. Bowl में there are 5 chits, ठीक है? आपको कोई भी 3 chit उठाने, your choice. I will not force you. उसमें जो भी question होगा, either you answer it, or you drink this very tasty करेले के जूस का shot.
All right.
All prepared? All set?
Nope, not prepared, but I think there's no choice.
No, so there is a choice. You can always answer.
Okay, let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
Do I need to read the question out?
Yes, I'll read it for you.
Yeah.
So you happen to have a private Instagram account. So show us your private Instagram account profile's homepage, else drink a shot.
I'm absolutely fine with that. I can show my private account homepage. There'll only be photos of my daughter.
You also have to send me
family.
a screenshot so that I can show it to the audience.
That's
You were so relieved ना जब ये
तो ठीक है, ये चल जाएगा.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, this is such a beautiful picture. My God, I think the audience will love this. That's your wife?
Yeah.
Wow. How many years of marriage?
It's been over 8 years now
Okay.
of marriage, and our daughter is 18 months.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been no problem. I can show
So
it
we'll
off.
need a screenshot of that.
No problem.
Done. Let's move on to the next.
Oof,
which
bach
I...
gaye.
This was the easiest question, by the way. Next, your choice.
I want to hope that this is an easy one as well. Here you go.
I think you'll have to pick up the shot.
Already? Pick it up?
If you could replace one co-founder at Stay Vista, who would it be, Ankita or Pranav?
Never. I would replace myself. पहली बार पिया.
How is
Hopefully वापस पीना नहीं पड़े.
it? Do you want chocolate?
I'll survive.
You'll survive?
I'll
Oh
survive.
God. I actually feel happy when people drink it, but I'm equally tense. Good. You'll answer the next
All right.
questions.
Hopefully. I better
एक
answer
ही
the
और
next
है.
one. वापस नहीं पीना.
एक ही और है. Next. You actually turned red on him.
I told you.
This I don't know if you're gonna answer. Name one competitor you think provides better experiences than Stay Vista.
Definitely drinking.
I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry.
Question
You
भी ऐसे
sang-
कि पीना पड़ेगा.
You signed up for this. Luckily for you, 3 ही answer करने थे. So
glad.
this round is over, and now we move on to the next round of the section. But before that, I would like to offer you water, chocolate, something.
I'm good.
Good.
I will have my revenge.
Okay. So next up is 2 truths and 1 lie. It's very easy. आपको अपने बारे में दो सच और एक झूठ बोलना है,
Okay.
ठीक है? And you will not reveal क्या what is the answer, ठीक है? The audience will be guessing it कि इसमें से सच क्या है और झूठ क्या है. And for you guys, if you guess it right, you will be getting a very special offer from Stay Vista. So I hope you do guess it right. Are you
So,
ready?
2 truths,
And 1 lie.
1 lie.
Yeah. We do not know what is what.
Okay. All right. I enjoy spicy food.
Okay.
I have been to Afghanistan, and I can sleep standing.
You can sleep standing.
कहीं भी सो सकता हूँ.
I think ये तो झूठ है. ठीक है. ये म्यूट कर देना. मैं गेस कर रही हूँ फिलहाल आंसर. You tell me if I'm right. Just
No
for
problem.
you guys, I guessed it right. आप भी फटाफट guess कर लो and the Stay Vista voucher is then yours. Thank you, Amit.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful hosting you. You've been a very good guest who really had the Karele ke juice ka shot. So I am personally very happy with this episode.
Thank
and I
you.
hope the audience has also learned some wonderful insights from you today.
Thank you.